There was a time when silence felt natural. You could sit by a window for an hour, watch the rain fall, and feel nothing but your own thoughts. Now, the moment the room becomes quiet, your hand reaches for your phone. A notification, a message, a group chat, a video, anything to avoid being alone with yourself. The strange part is that we've never been more connected, and yet so many people quietly admit they feel exhausted, distracted, and emotionally disconnected. Every weekend is another invitation, another dinner, another birthday, another networking event, another gathering where everyone laughs loudly while secretly wondering whether they're falling behind. You smile. You contribute to the conversation. You tell everyone work is going well. You say you're busy. You say you're grateful. You say you're doing fine. And perhaps you even believe it for a while. But later that night, when you finally get home and close the door, an uncomfortable emptiness settles over the room. Because performing a version of yourself for hours is exhausting. Modern life celebrates constant availability. We're expected to answer instantly, show up constantly, reply immediately, maintain friendships, build connections, expand networks, stay visible. Somewhere along the way, being alone became something people apologize for. I've just been keeping to myself lately, as if solitude were a personal failure instead of a human necessity. But what most people never realize is that the mind doesn't grow in noise, it grows in reflection. Every meaningful decision you've ever made probably happened during a quiet moment, not in a crowded restaurant, not in a loud party, not while scrolling through endless conversations, but alone, in silence, listening to thoughts that usually get drowned out. And perhaps that's why silence has become so uncomfortable, because beneath it lies the version of ourselves we've been too busy to meet, the version still waiting to ask a question we keep avoiding. Are you living the life you actually want, or the one everyone else expects you to want? That question changes everything, and most people spend years making sure they never have to hear it. Human beings were never designed to live completely alone. For thousands of years, belonging meant survival. Acceptance meant protection. Rejection could mean death. That ancient wiring still lives inside us. Only now the tribe isn't 30 people around a fire. It's hundreds of contacts, thousands of followers, endless opinions, constant comparison. Slowly, without noticing it, your identity starts becoming a reflection of the people around you. You laugh because everyone laughs. You buy what everyone buys. You chase careers that impress strangers. You adopt goals you never consciously chose. The pressure isn't obvious. No one forces you. That's what makes it so powerful. You simply absorb expectations until they feel like your own. The expensive dinners, the luxury vacations, the constant need to stay relevant, to attend, to post, to participate. Each decision feels harmless, but together they quietly shape your future, financially, emotionally, psychologically. The strange part is that many people don't fear failure, they fear exclusion. They fear being forgotten, left out of the group chat, ignored at the gathering, uninvited. And so they continue saying yes to everything while quietly saying no to themselves. Over time, exhaustion becomes normal, mental clutter becomes normal, living for other people's approval becomes normal, until one day you realize you've built a life filled with people, but very little space for your own thoughts. And that absence costs more than most people realize, because every identity borrowed from the crowd is one less opportunity to discover your own. History quietly reveals an uncomfortable pattern. Deep work rarely happens in crowded rooms. Original thinking doesn't usually emerge from constant conversation. It grows in uninterrupted moments where the mind has permission to wander. Yet modern life makes wandering almost impossible. The moment boredom appears, entertainment replaces it. The moment silence arrives, notifications interrupt it. The moment reflection begins, someone sends another message. Our minds become occupied without ever becoming fulfilled. The strange part is that creativity isn't produced by endless stimulation. It's produced by recovery. The brain connects ideas when it finally has room to breathe. That's why your clearest thoughts arrive during a quiet walk, a shower, a late-night drive, or a peaceful morning before the world wakes up. Those moments aren't empty, they're productive in ways that can't be measured immediately. Without noticing it, constant socializing trains your attention outward. Every decision becomes influenced by reactions. Every opinion seeks validation. Every dream quietly negotiates with the expectations of others. And eventually, you forget what your own inner voice sounds like. The most successful people aren't always the most social. They're simply intentional about protecting time where nobody else has access to their attention. Because attention is becoming the rarest currency of modern life, and whatever controls your attention slowly shapes your future. Not every conversation adds value. Some simply consume energy. Hours disappear discussing people who aren't present, comparing salaries, homes, relationships, success, failures. The mind leaves heavier than it arrived. The strange part is that emotional exhaustion rarely comes from one dramatic event. It comes from thousands of tiny interactions that demand a version of you. The funny version, the successful version, the agreeable version, the confident version. Maintaining those identities becomes invisible work, and invisible work still drains real energy. Meanwhile, the dreams that mattered most quietly wait. The book you wanted to write, the business idea, the skill you wanted to master, the financial goals you've postponed. They don't disappear overnight. They fade through neglect. Not because you lacked talent, but because your attention was rented out in small pieces every day. The modern world celebrates busyness, but busyness and progress are rarely the same thing. Some people spend years surrounded by conversation while making very little progress toward the life they imagined. Because movement isn't always momentum. Sometimes it's simply distraction wearing the mask of productivity. Perhaps the greatest advantage you can give yourself isn't another connection. It's learning to enjoy your own company again. To sit without reaching for your phone. To walk without headphones. To think without interruption. To spend an evening creating instead of consuming. At first, it feels uncomfortable. The silence is loud. Your thoughts race. Old fears surface. Questions appear that have been buried for years. But slowly, the discomfort fades, and something unexpected takes its place. Clarity. You begin noticing which relationships energize you and which simply occupy your time. You stop attending every event. You stop chasing every invitation. You stop confusing availability with importance. Your conversations become fewer, but deeper. Your friendships become smaller, but stronger. Your goals become quieter, but more authentic. And perhaps the most surprising discovery is this. You never needed constant socializing to become more alive. You needed enough silence to hear the life that had been waiting beneath the noise all along. Because in the end, the people who build meaningful lives aren't always the loudest voices in the room. They're often the ones who learned that solitude isn't isolation. It's the place where identity is rebuilt, clarity returns, and the future quietly begins.